Good day, everybody. How's it going out there? Well, a new game has been announced, and usually I don't talk about new announcements for games and people voting and things like that. Usually, if I learn about video games, it's usually during my gaming streams when people put in content for me to vote on, and that's how I get the latest and greatest Anthro games to play and to check out. I always love the diversity of the game styles of furry games and how many different genres they touch because I like a lot of different genres of games. But this one is an oldie and a dear to my heart, but with reservations. And interestingly, so we're going to go over that now. So, in a surprise sort of, not really surprising, but surprising announcement, like a lot of people, like they didn't announce that they were going to announce this, and they basically started their direct earlier than expected, apparently. And a lot of people were like, oh my gosh, they're announcing something quick. And then they announced the Star Fox game. Now, to me, wasn't too much of a surprise. I mean, we had the Mario Galaxy movie that came out, and then, Fox McCloud just happened to be a guest star, and I'm like, they're going to announce a Star Fox game. Which I was a little concerned because I don't own a Switch 2, and if they get a good new Star Fox game, I might have to actually pay that pretty penny for a Switch 2. But in a monkey's paw mixed blessing, it is once again, as you've probably already know, a remake of the N64 game with high fidelity graphics and cutscenes and things like that. And I'm like, whew, that was close. I thought I was going to have to spend $600 on a system. From now on, it's like I don't spend money on a system unless it's like I really, like if I know 3 or 4 games that I really want to play, then I'll do that. But interestingly, but here's the thing. You can still write it in. It's fine. You can write it in during our next voting thing. And if it wins, then I'll have to figure out what to do. You're going to make my wallet cry. No, actually, I think I have a better idea. I know a local furry who owns a Switch 2. Because he's a streamer and he's got quite a quantity of streaming audience. And what I could probably do is I go, listen here, what I'll do is he probably will buy Star Fox. So if he does, then I can just borrow both, right? Because here's the thing: if you guys vote on it, it's not going to be right on release date. So odds are is that he'll probably buy Star Fox and stream it. And if he does, then I can say, hey, can I borrow your Switch 2 in the game, and while I stream it afterwards after it wins the vote or whatever. That would probably how I'd handle it, which is an interesting way of going about it because, you got to think about, because it's you used to do things in a communal manner. And it kind of fits the vibe, too, because the way I was introduced to Star Fox on the Nintendo and Super Nintendo, and actually introduced to the Super Nintendo, was my brother's middle to high school friend brought over the Super Nintendo, and one of the games he had was Star Fox, and I really, really liked Star Fox, and I played the heck out of it, and it was the thing that I played the most of, and he also had Super Mario World and other things, and I liked Super Mario World, but I liked the Star Fox better because something new, it was something interesting. I actually liked it more than I would say the N64 version, which I didn't play until much later. I didn't even actually get. And the better irony is I never really got Star Fox nor Star Fox 64 for my own home system. And mostly because I didn't remember the game's name. Which is funny in a way, because it's back then it's you didn't have the internet and you didn't have couldn't type into Google going, game with flying fox in Arwing. You didn't have that ability. So it was you would have to rely on, I would have had to have asked my brother's friend, in passing, which I never really got to see him too much, is hey, what was that game called, that we played? And, because when we got our own SNES, a year or so later, Like, we had Donkey Kong Country, we had Super Mario RPG, we had like other games, but we never got Star Fox because I didn't know what it was called, and I would have definitely wanted to get it if I knew what it was. It's also probably expensive because it had that special chip in it, which probably didn't help its case on the wallet side. Here we go again. But anyways, like the thing I like, so a lot of furries find this start not to reminisce on the olden days because I'm a little peppy over here with the long ears. I would say that a lot of furries, as far as like the thing goes, now obviously a lot of like people are rolling their eyes that it's another remake. And I think one of the astute furries that I could tell I'm following the right people because it was the same thing I thought. It was like, oh man, there's these cool cutscenes, and like their response was, yeah, then I'm gonna watch them on YouTube. Right? It's like cutscenes are not like the whole thing about modern gaming is like you can't really rely on cutscenes and movie style things to sell your games. Now, Nintendo has gone hardball on streamers and people like that before, and I'm pretty sure they'll do that with Star Fox. So just as a fair warning, like if there's a lot of cutscenes and things like that, like they might start to like basically go after people who watch the cutscenes on streams and things like that. Just a guess, because most of their games don't really have that many cutscenes. So like if they do a story based game, they may find ways to crack it down, as it were. That's always a concern, but because Nintendo's gonna Nintendo. But I think the big controversy, the big like split the room kind of thing that's happened with the design is the character's sort of realistic style characterization. So you can't see their legs in this promo, but like you know, and the interesting thing is like somebody pointed out that like they seemed to have been inspired by a particular post, and this was one from 2020 of somebody did a rendering, and now this was before AI existed. So that's how I know this isn't AI. This was posted in 2020, and AI didn't really become good at doing pictures until 2022. So this was an actual artist rendering. And a lot of people rumor that the Nintendo hired this man for their art direction. I don't know whether that's true or not, but it's interesting. And so let's see if I can expand this out so you can see the name better. So like, but it's not really the same either. Peppy's ears are a little more separate. Like their profiles and their heads are a little wider than the final product. As you can see there, the heads are a little more smooshed. They're a little more smooshed. They're like smooshed the head. They like put them in a little box or little vice and they squeeze them. And especially Peppy's ears, they're squeezed together. Now obviously like I like anther characters. My joke is my counter joke to certain furries who are like, oh god, they look horrendous, and it's like, oh my gosh, my animal characters are animals. Oh no. But you know, to be fair, there is definitely furries who like toony style characters, and I see you. My eyes are up here, but you like those eyes, so that might not work in my favor. Long and the short is, there's some people who like toony cartoon animal looking animals. They don't care so much for realistic looking animals. And like, I know one person I'm following is really, really, really doesn't like the art direction to the point where they're like really angry. And that's how you could tell they're a fan, is that they're really angry about it. Whereas I have like kind of moved on. It's sort of like, it's interesting, like to me, for my personal relationship with it, it's sort of like Sonic. You know what I mean? It's sort of like, and this is what I'll leave off on, it's sort of like Sonic, only the opposite, right? Sonic tried a lot of different things. They tried to experiment. They did a lot of crazy things. And Star Fox is very like, this is the same game. This is the same game. This is the same game. Like, But like they don't even release games all that often. Because here's the thing. They released one for the Super Nintendo. They're late in the Super Nintendo cycle. Then they made one at the beginning of the N64 cycle. It was one of the pilot games, as I ranted on the two videos ago about the person putting Mario 64 in the Furry Museum instead of Star Fox 64. It's like they were released at the same time. They were both pilot things for the N64. You should have used the Star Fox 64. What are you doing? Yeah, I'm fine, really. But, then there was like one for, like there was 1.5 for the GameCube. And then and a lot of people like Assault in hindsight because it was like the last Star Fox game proper, right? It was like the last one that did anything new. They hated it at the time. It's like, oh man, this game isn't as good as I wanted it to be. But in like hindsight, a lot of fans are like, I really, really like Assault because like it's actual Star Fox. I played the heck out of it. I liked it because I was content starved for Star Fox, right? And I liked the story, and I thought it was interesting. Now, obviously, I don't think I didn't like I liked the rail sections, like the first level and the fifth level, but everything else was like all range mode kind of things, and it was fine. And I got to visit Saria again, and I thought that was interesting. Now, the problem is that after that, like it's been every other system. So we had 1.5 for GameCube, Star Fox Adventures, kind of Star Fox, and then Star Fox Assault. So it was like 1.5 Star Fox games. Then on Wii, there was absolutely jack all. No, not a single Star Fox game for Wii. One of their most popular consoles. And then the Wii U, they put in a Star Fox game. And Wii U is one of their worst selling consoles. So they're like, oh, there's no interest in Star Fox. It's like, yeah, because it's a late entry that is a reimagining of a game that everyone's already played on a system that nobody bought. I bought it because I bought it here's the thing. I didn't buy a Wii U until Mario Maker came out because that fulfilled a childhood that hit like, oh my gosh, I can make my own Mario levels. That is like one of my childhood dreams. Take my money. Take it. Take my money. And then obviously I bought Mario Maker 2, but it's like I felt it was harder to use. Like the Wii U is actually really good in creating levels and creating stuff like that. And it really made good use of the system. So much so that on the Switch, it felt worse to do that. And like knowing that like everyone had quote unquote moved on from Mario Maker 1, I felt like, what am I creating new levels for Mario Maker 2 for? Eventually those levels are going to disappear from the ether and no one will play them at all. So it kind of like takes the wind out of your sails as a creator. Luckily, I took my most popular level from Mario Maker 1 and ported it over to Mario Maker 2 so that you could play that. But I felt obligated to do so because it was a top 10 on Mojo, on Mojo.com. So I felt a little obligated to do so. But this is about Star Fox, not Mario Maker. But I did buy the Zero because I had a Wii U because I bought it for Mario Maker. And I was kind of like, it was forgettable. Like, it was a forgettable experience. I remember Assault a lot more than I do Zero. In fact, Zero, like, it's like multiply my enthusiasm by Star Fox Zero. I don't remember much about the game, to be honest. I remember the control thing. And then, what was it called? The gyro control. I was okay with it. It's just bad. But it's like, other than that, there wasn't much to memorize that was memorable, unfortunately. And so so that was for the Wii U. Then the Switch came around, another banging popular console. And, no Star Fox game. And now Switch 2 came out, which, by the way, they called it Switch 2 probably because they wanted to make sure that people knew that it was a new system that they had to buy. They didn't call it Switch U. They learned from that mistake. But that being said, Switch 2 is probably not as popular a console as Switch 1 because of the environment that I talked about on sort of the Furry Weekend Atlanta video as well. I don't know if this one's going to go up first or that one's going to go up first. Probably the Furry Weekend Atlanta. Like the whole, like, there's tariffs, there's cost of expenses and memory and like all these things making electronics more expensive, relatively speaking. And so that's causing people to be a lot more wary about what consoles they pick up. And so unfortunately, I think Switch 2 is not going to do the numbers that Switch 1 did, even though it's somewhat early in its life cycle. Like, I haven't heard about many people salivating for many games. Like the Mario Kart World thing is like a lot of people like don't care for the like those like straight on tracks and things like that. And how, you know, they do online play, and how often you have to do the straightaways. Not a lot of people singing high praises about it like they did for Mario Kart 8, which was, by the way, was itself a port over from the Wii U to the Switch, because it was they wanted to give it a second shot, and it really succeeded. That being said, like, again, so Fox McCloud is once again going into very hostile territory. He's once again releasing another Star Fox game, once again on a system that is in more trouble than its things, like than its peers, than the peer before that they didn't get a release for. And it's like, I hate seeing the Fox done dirty like that. I really do. It sucks. Hopefully it does well. Hopefully it sells well. Hopefully it does well enough where people are like, they might experiment a little bit more with the franchise and get me interested again. If I had a fantasy Star Fox like thing, like I always love the selection of level difficulty. I would love to see like a beginning, like, and they sort of have the beginning level at the same sort of spot. I would love to see a game where like it does the first level and it's supposed to be some sort of like, and the difficulty of that first level goes like up and up and up and up, and it gets to the point of being more difficult than some of the more difficult levels of the game. And wherever you lose, because you're supposed to lose the first time, basically you're supposed to make it so difficult that like the situation's so difficult and precarious that you are going to lose. But when you lose, the game doesn't end. When you lose, it goes like, the story will open up depending on what you did on that first level, and then go, well, you did well enough to access the easy path, or you did well enough to access the middle path, or you did enough to access the hard path, or maybe there might be a special branches on those paths depending on the things that the way you interacted with that first level. I think that allowing the first level to be an interesting experience. Now, obviously, there's the whole like Shadow the Hedgehog problem where it's like you might get bored of playing the first level over and over again. So, having dynamics and having like it be expansive enough where you can experience it in different ways would be a challenge, and it would be interesting too, because everyone's experience with that first level would sort of be a little bit different, and how it impacts the story that they're allowed to play would be a little bit different. I think that's the premise where I would start as a foundation for a Star Fox game, is that kind of a thing, and then kind of have the three branches based on that first performance. That's my idea. That would never happen. And it's like, but the thing is, like, the long and the short is this, like, it's a cool property. I like the property, but we live in a day and an age where we have access to other people and other properties. Like, there's other furry games out there I can play. I'm swamped with furry games I can play. I'm not waiting on Star Fox anymore. I'm not Penelope waiting for her Odysseus to come home to her. I have moved on. Same with Sonic a little bit. Like, I like certain Sonic games, but I know I like certain Sonic games, but I don't chase every Sonic game from now on. Like, I don't. It's like unless I really hear really good things about it or anything like that, I stop chasing Sonic games because they're too variable. Unless I hear really good things about it, and same thing's going to be for Star Fox. If I hear really good things about it, I might give it a shot. I might borrow somebody's thing and like buy a copy and borrow somebody's Switch 2 to play a little bit. That being said, not chasing it. Because it's like there's this other thing called Wild Blue Skies or something like that, I think it was called. Like there was one with like a bull and like a deer and like they're in like these little airplane characters and like a very stylized like flying game that's coming out. The demo's out for it right now, and I can't wait for it to release because that would be cool to see like an alternative to see what other people would do with a similar kind of air combat franchise with anthro characters. I would love to see that. And obviously, there are other furry and interesting on the other side of the coin, because I'm not very much into the air combat simulators. I know one furry that I follow on Blue Sky who's really into combat flight simulators, and his response was, for Star Fox fans gotta kind of at some point realize that Star Fox is a very mid flight combat simulators. There's so many better. Just if you're looking for flying combat simulators that are like stylized and arcadey and like have like make you feel like a badass bullet heck like flying around, there's so many other options out there, and just broaden your horizons beyond just animal characters. And that's the whole other set of worms. And that's I think why Star Fox has having trouble in the modern era. He like, and it's to the point where even like the people who are making the games are making Fox McCloud into like the Uncle Rusty from Lady and the Tramp. Like, don't think I mentioned the Lilac Wars before. Aye, you did, lad. Frequently. Oh, yes. So, that being said, what do you think about the new Star Fox game? How did you feel about the announcement? How you like the new character designs? Kick the comment in the comment section. Wow, I talked about this for 20 minutes. That was 10 minutes too long. But nostalgia and like things required it. So have a good one, everyone. I think there was a lot of good stuff in there, even though it was maybe too much. Now with cutscenes.